Shalom, welkom bij een nieuwe aflevering van Israël CNN. Vandaag hebben we een hele bijzondere en een hele interessante gast uit een gebied uit Jeruzalem, uit de wijk Mea Shearim. Ik heb hem een aantal jaren geleden ontmoet en we hebben contact gehouden en we zijn eigenlijk bevriend geraakt. Zelf ben ik redelijk thuis in Israël en weet aardig wat er gebeurt, maar in de wijk Mea Shearim, dat is in Jeruzalem, is toch een heel aparte buurt en aparte wijk. Welcome, Moshe Pelek, or Rabbi Pelek, what do you prefer?
It's a democratic country, you can choose whatever you want.
But we know and we talk like Moshe and Jack, so I will call you Moshe.
No problem.
Moshe, welcome in the Netherlands. It's an honor to have you here as our guest. But it's for you special and it's for us special that this is in a way the first time that you are coming and to speak for non-Jews. Is that correct?
That's correct.
First, I like to talk about the neighborhood where you are living. Mea Shearim is a neighborhood in Israel. It's a very special neighborhood, and for the people that visit Israel and they have some knowledge about Israel, this is an area that people have they are careful about it. This is an area where people live in dark clothes, in black clothes, walking, and there is no really a contact with them. You are in a way different, but you are living, you are part of this world. And I'd like to ask you some questions about this neighborhood and to show us in what for a world you are living in. It seems for us that you are living in a totally different world than the rest of the Jews in Israel. But Mea Shearim, can you tell me about the name, for example? It's Hebrew, but what is its meaning?
The name is in Hebrew, of course, and there is a pasuk, there is a sentence from Genesis, chapter 26, and the sentence is the 12th sentence, and it's written there that Isaac sowed in that land, and in that year he reaped 100-fold. And those had the Hashem's blessed him. This is what Hashem gave him. 100-fold. So that means that it's an expression for blessings. So that's why they say that when they decided on 1874 to build the neighborhood, it was the 5th neighborhood outside the walls of the old Jerusalem. They gave a name that has a meaning of blessing to the place.
How many people are living there? Do you know?
There are a couple of hundreds of houses there.
Yeah, but that's Mea Shearim, that's the street. But the neighborhood around Mea Shearim?
It's the same. A couple of hundreds of...
I was thinking thousands of people there.
No, thousands, it's not Mea Shearim. There are other neighborhoods that ultra-Orthodox are living. But Mea Shearim itself,
what is the difference?
That you're afraid from is only a couple of hundreds.
A couple of hundred, but what is the difference between an Orthodox Jew and an ultra-Orthodox Jew? What is it?
It's a good question. I can't really answer that clearly because there are differences even among the ultra-Orthodox Jews. So there's some people more Hasidish, some people came to Jerusalem like 7 generations ago, and they are coming from a Litvish background, from Lita. It's not Hasidish, and they are called Chalmers, Yerushalmim, people that are like living in Jerusalem for many years, and it's a big variety of people.
If you are as tourist in Israel, for example, and you're walking through Jerusalem, you want to see the buildings, the area, people are very kind. But if you are in Mea Shearim, there's difference. The people are very close. It seems that there is a border around it. It's not, but it seems that people are not really watching on the ground, but that's most, I think, of the time when you're walking with your wife or when women is there. Why is that?
I think that mainly the families that started Mea Shearim and continuing living there now, like their kids and so on, it's people that wanted to live with their own lifestyle and to live like a holy way of life. And there is one of the biggest concepts is not to try, at least, not to let the exterior world to enter to your life. Like for instance, right now there is a very big battlefield against the cell phones, the smart cell phones. Not to bring internet home, not to bring all the rubbish that is coming from outside. Like even groups that are coming, sometimes you hear cursings and like not nice words that are talking. And you want to raise it's people that wants to raise their kids, in a more pure environment, to give them good education, that they'll become, like delicate people with values, Torah in their heads, and that they will not have wish to go out and to get lost like this generation.
And is that a success? To keep it out, the cell phone?
I think in certain ways, yes. I mean, if you can see that in as much as you are more ultra orthodox, you see that most of the people really put a step.
What is for you a way to say he is ultra-orthodox? How can you see it outside from somebody?
I think that it's more or less a very external way of watching. Like you see the people's clothes, the people that are wearing black and white, you are telling that they are ultra-orthodox.
Why? But why do you have the black white?
Why? Because it's like you can't ask a person that is working by the Prime Minister office, why do you wear like a suit and a tie? Everybody wears suit and tie. I want to come with a jeans trousers, and with a t-shirt here to work, and as a secretary of the Prime Minister. But you won't find them, because there is a certain honor. You have to honor your job. And
but there has to be a reason, black-white.
Black-white is something that started in Europe for hundreds of years ago. And because it came from fathers to sons, and because the ultra-Orthodox people don't want to change. Because if you start to change now and to run to any moda that is in the world, like a crazy modelist from New York or from Paris, decides now that people will go with their clothes upside down. So you can see thousands of people running after this moda. I mean, that's what it's in their head. Very superficial life. I mean, people are more putting into an inner life, more values life, and not putting much emphasizing, and they're not emphasizing on clothes. So everybody are walking the same. That's one reason. Another reason is that you don't have, you can't see at a synagogue who is richer and who is a rich person and who is a poor person. There is some social meaning to that as well. Everybody are wearing the same. Like at the front of God, everybody are the same. And it shows, black and white shows a humbleness. It's like, it's not a grade, and
And I have heard that there are different groups from different rabbis, very famous rabbis or important rabbis, and you can see that you are part of this group of the head. Is that true?
Yes.
So if you see somebody walking, you can see, if you check his head, this is somebody from this group.
More or less, yes.
And how is the relation between Mea Shearim and the different groups?
Mea Shearim is not one group, by the way.
No,
it's a neighborhood.
I know, but there are different groups. But how is the relation between the groups?
I think mostly okay.
Mostly okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we know that from the news media articles in the news that there is also, you talk about the battlefield, about the cell phones, but what we understand is that there is a really big problem that the ultra-Orthodox, and then we believe all the ultra-Orthodox, but you can tell maybe that's not so, but that they don't want to be in the IDF. Why?
Okay, so a couple of reasons. First of all, it's the influence that the secular army can give to a person that just came from this type of life, and can bring into a believer person. But that's something that the rabbis doesn't want to that will happen. That's first of all. Second of all, I want to tell you something. It's something that it's very hard to explain to a person that doesn't believe, to a non-believer person. You know, like as a human being is built from flesh and a soul, you know, like body and soul, the world is exactly the same. I mean, you can't say that a flesh, a body without a soul can exist, and you can't say that a soul without a body can exist. What is an army? An army is an effort, it's a physical effort that you are doing to protect yourself. Nobody says that an army is not good. Nobody says that army should not be. Right? Like King David had an army as well. I mean, when he needed to protect himself, he had an army. But it says at the sentences at the Torah, the Bible, it says that he took his people and he divided them for two. Half of them went to guard and to fight, and half of them were sitting and learning. And the commentaries are explaining why. The commentaries said that if not those who are fighting, right, those who were learning couldn't learn. And if not those who are learning, those who are fighting can't be protected. What does it mean? It means that there is power to the words. There is power to prayings. There is power to learn Torah, for the learning of Torah. Now, it's something that it's very hard to explain to people. What does it mean, a power? How can a praying or a learning of a guy, right, a religious guy in Jerusalem can affect a soldier in Lebanon, at the Lebanese border? How can it save Jews that are sitting near the border in kibbutzim and in towns from not being hurted? Very hard. But it's exactly like I can't take, for instance, your thoughts and make a video film out of it and show the people. You see, what? It's thinking. But thoughts, thinking is real. You can't say it's not exist. Now, if you learn books, you know, like Hasidic books and other books, you know, Kabbalah books, you understand what does it mean, a thought, what does it mean, words. How can it affect you? When you're saying a word, it affects. There is one of the biggest scholars called HaChafetz Chaim. HaChafetz Chaim wrote a book about saying bad words about others, you know, like gossip, for instance.
Yes.
Very important book that plenty of people are learning this book. And he said something very, very, very unique, that maybe in its time people didn't understand it really. He said that when, I'm just giving it an example, he didn't write it in these words, but he's saying like this. He said that if one person is telling bad things to his friend that is standing here about a third person that maybe right now is in New Zealand, and let's say that accidentally, whatever, right, accidentally that person in New Zealand is going to die after 5 minutes. Chafetz Chaim says 3 people are getting hurt. The person that spoke, the person that heard, and the person that will never hear what was talked about him. So you can ask, what's going on here? Science fiction. Really, really science fiction. How come? So maybe you can understand that if a person is speaking bad about another person, it affects his own soul.
That's also written in the book of Proverbs.
Right.
Words can be killing.
Words can kill.
Yeah.
But we have to understand how. So when you are dealing with bad things, you yourself, it affects your soul. The person that hears the gossip, he himself, you know, like receives it. Something is remaining in him, even if it was not planned to hear.
So if you turn this,
But
Then yes.
But the third person that is not here now, and you will never know what was talked about him. How does this person that is 10,000 kilometers from Netherlands now, how does this person will get hurt? So Chafetz Chaim gives actually a very, very strong concept. He says that, like for instance, there is a concept in science of a law that keeps material in nature. For instance, if you take water and you freeze it, yeah, right, under zero degrees, you get ice. If you boil it, it becomes gas, right? If this gas, like clouds, right? If this gas is happening to find cold temperature, it becomes water again, right? It becomes rain. I mean, but the material remains. Chafetz Chaim says, actually, that all this room now that we are sitting in, actually it's like radio waves, right? If I told you 500 years ago that a small plastic box will speak, you'll say, what? You know, you'll call quickly an ambulance and take me to a cuckoo house. You know, because
careful, otherwise we are going to do it now.
But now we understand that all this space here is full of radio waves. You don't see it. You can't see it. But you know that if you have a machine, you know, that broadcast, and you have a machine to receive this length of waves,
like the cell phone.
Like the cell phone, for instance, exactly, like radio itself, you know. So you can hear voices. If you watch into the cell phone, you won't see the person that sings there, or the person who is talking. But that's the radio waves. So Chafetz Chaim says the same with gossip. You know, like the words that is getting out from your mouth remains in the world and has an impact. It has impact on society, on life. And that's exactly like praying of a religious person or learning Torah, that we believe, and we know it's not a belief, it's knowledge. We know that such a thing is affecting, it's protecting people. How does it come? You have to sit and learn for a couple of years for that.
If there's for example, if there's a war, is there in your community, are people going to pray for the soldiers? Is there a moment? There are special prayers?
What a question. When there was the last war, Tzuk Eitan, you know, like
East Gaza?
In Gaza, for instance, everybody, Orthodox, ultra-Orthodox, secular people, everybody together are joining to help soldiers and to help, it's not only even praying, everything. If it's helping with supplies, food, everybody are doing something to give warm clothes sometimes.
Another thing is that, and that has connected with this, is that in Israel it's also a fight about that there's going a lot of money to the ultra-Orthodox communities, not only Meisrim but in whole Israel. There's so much money going, but they're not having a job, they're not working. They're only going to a yeshiva or for Torah study or Talmud study. And this is really something what is a lot of Jews irritated that this happens. What will be your short answer? What will be your explanation to them? If you're talking with them and they say, why are you not working like me?
My dear friend, you are living 100 years ago. It's a huge legend.
I'm happy to hear it. But
you wanted to hear it?
Yeah, I want to hear it. Yes.
It's a legend. That's first of all. Second of all, there are parts of the ultra-Orthodox people that are sitting and learning. And it's my right, if I believe that their learning is a blessing for the whole Jewish people and the whole world, by the way. I myself, I'm donating, I'm giving some money to places that that I want to help, those who are sitting and learning from morning till night and living in with a very, very poor, level of life, and they are dedicating themselves for learning. If I really believe that this learning is helping the Jewish people and the Gentiles as well, and the world itself, I'm giving this money because it's actually helping me as well.
So that's your
answer? Yes, and it's my right to do it.
But can you understand that secular people are irritated? Can you a little imagine that you will think, you try to step in their heads and to...
My dear friend, you have an organization that calls Pillar of Fire. You are supporting Israel, love Israel very much. You don't listen to all the lies that the media is bringing up. You made your research and you did what you think. I can ask you the same question. Can you believe can you understand how many people in the world really hesitate you're supporting Israel and so on? I mean, you can't. Okay. Truth is truth, fake is fake.
Before we finish this meeting, can you tell short and explain, because this is the first time that you came out of your world, your box, okay. and met people like us,
no, I met people that are
I know.
But to stand with tens of people and to speak.
Why are so many Orthodox afraid for us?
Because it's the same story. It's not because they're afraid from non-Jews only. They're afraid from any influence that can take their life and ruin it. So they're more suspicious. They're more closed. They want to be sure that you're not going to put any harm, to plant things in the new generation's heads. So they are keeping themselves, more secure.
And is there also...
But it's only maybe 4% from the Orthodox people, by the way. It's only in these neighborhoods that you mentioned.
Yeah, but there are more neighborhoods in Israel.
Yeah, but most of the Orthodox people are much more open.
Is there a change? Is there a change?
There is a change. If you ask me if the change is positive or negative, that's another question. But there is a change. You can't say that it's always a positive change, if you understand what I mean.
For example, if people watching this program and they decided, interesting, we are going to visit Mea Shearim and we want to talk with people, how will people react on tourists?
I think that it depends. I took you to a small tour and we entered to places, to houses, and you saw that people welcomed you very much.
I'm changed. Yes. My attention, my way of thinking about Mea Shearim is changed. Yes, I agree.
But it's maybe because I took you there.
Yeah.
Because they knows me and they have confidence at me. So they knew that if you are my guest, you are okay.
The question was also interesting for us. If your daughters are going to be married, they are going to find for themselves a husband, or how is this in the Orthodox world?
Well, if you are talking about the biggest mainstream, we know that if you check results of marriages today, the people found by their partner to life, you see that in a couple of places in the world, the rate of divorcing is something like 135%. When you ask people how come 135, I mean there is only 100%. So there are people that divorce 2 times, and got married 3 times sometimes. So today it's like, changing a woman is like changing your socks. Sometimes that's the approach. And many times when young people are meeting, they see a beautiful boy at the front of their eyes. He has a nice motorcycle, and he's smiling and he's so charming. So that's the boy I would like to marry. But actually, when you check if their manners, if their culture, if their if they really have the same inclination. If it fits, you see that it doesn't. But it's only the exterior charm that attracted them. Now, all of us building families, right? I mean, I have a family, I have 11 kids, right? So we have knowledge, which tools do you need to bring with you for a happy marriage life? Which kind of woman you need that will fit exactly your inclination, your feelings, your way of thoughts. So parents that have experience of how to build a good, successful life, are much more wiser than the small, young kids. So what we are doing is we are looking, we are checking very well before we are proposing, checking about, like for instance, if somebody is calling me, I have a suggestion, a boy for your daughter. I said, okay, can I get please numbers? I'm getting numbers from principals, from teachers, from friends, and I'm making a very deep investigation.
That's what we do if we want to have somebody for a company, not for...
Exactly. So company is more important than to build a family life, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that's exactly...
I've never heard this.
Fantastic. So that's exactly how we are doing it. And after we find out that it can fit, I meet, for instance, the boy that is the candidate for my daughter, and if I see that it can work, we introduce them together, they are going, meeting somewhere, and from this moment, it belongs to them, to their decision.
Okay.
They, of course,
they make the end decision, if they are going further.
Sure. If they want, if they like each other, so they decide to meet again and again, until they say yes. If not, they are coming and saying, it's not for me. Fine.
And is it possible, then we have to close this half hour, but is it possible that one of your daughters, for example, is bringing you a name that this is somebody that I like him, I love him? Is that possible?
Let's put it this way.
I think that is a different way to say no.
Yeah, no, I mean, you can't say no. I mean, it depends who is my daughter. Like, if the kids really listen to the wisdom of their parents, and that's how the biggest majority are, and they respect our wisdom, they will be willing to listen to our advices. Now, if they are not, and they decided to take responsibility for their life into their hands, and they are coming, so what can I do? So I'll meet the person, and I'll see if the person fits my daughter, so fine. And if not, I'll tell her, look, I don't think that it's a proper suggestion, and do whatever you think.
Moshe,
yes,
time is running. We need to close this program. I am very impressed and to see something what's going on in your world.
Okay.
It's new for us, and I think for a lot of people that are watching this program. Toda Rabba for what you're sharing with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.